got that?
I said hold his ass!
Mike arrives at his college dorm with his father, but the tension between them is obvious. Still upset about something deeper, Mike avoids conversation, refuses a lunch offer, and insists on handling everything alone. Meanwhile, Zach is tearing through his training session at the gym, drawing cheers from the onlookers. Even when his coach warns him about exposing his shoulder, Zach brushes it off with his usual confidence that confidence doesn't waver, even when he learns his opponent has been replaced last minute. While the coach worries, Zach remains convinced he doesn't need extra preparation. Back home, Tim is welcomed by his younger siblings, but the mood quickly shifts when his mother reveals the pressure they're under from the bank. Wanting to help, Tim offers to quit school and work full-time. At the dorm, Mike is trying to distract himself with an online fight video when Kurt suggests they go out. Mike resists at first, but eventually gives in. They crash a house party where Kurt hypes Mike up as some kind of ladies' magnet. Mike sets his sights on a girl named Eve, but the moment is short-lived when she turns him down, mentioning she already has a boyfriend elsewhere. Zach steps into the ring for his fight, but the match quickly turns brutal. He takes punch after punch with little defense, and before long, one heavy blow drops him flat, his eyes swelling shut as he hits the mat. After work, another man lingers near a gym to quietly watch two fighters train. When spotted, he walks away, only to run into a group of men looking for revenge. They chase him down, beat him, and the leader even cuts him across the skin with a knife. Despite the pain, he fights back long enough to break free and run toward the training area where Tim and Case happen to be seeing them. The attackers back off and disappear. Meanwhile, Mike visits Max, who explains the underground tournament known as the Beatdown, a high-stakes fight event where the best fighters compete for recognition, but everything must stay hidden from the police. At the doctor's office, Zach receives devastating news. The repeated blows he's taken have damaged his retina. One more fight like the last one could make him permanently blind. The doctor tells him surgery won't change the outcome. His fighting career is finished. Outside the office, Zach overhears a woman admiring MMA fighters, and the irony sinks in as he silently walks away, lost in thought. Tim later returns home to find his younger siblings watching inappropriate content, which he quickly shuts off before asking about their mother. Learning she's still at work, he heads to the bar, where she's taken a job serving drinks in revealing outfits. Before he can argue, she shuts him down, reminding him that this job is the only thing keeping them afloat. Back at training, Mike is wrestling another student and doing well until the guy makes a remark about his parents' breakup. Something snaps in Mike. He loses control, ignores the rules, and unleashes a barrage of blows until another student pulls him away. The coach yells at him, but Mike storms off without an ounce of regret. Mike and Zach visit Max, eager to fight in the beatdown. Mike, a wrestler, and Zach, a boxer, promise to combine their skills for the tournament. Max hands them gloves to test their abilities. Zach throws the first punch, catching Max's attention, but soon they're grappling wildly, knocking over chairs and ignoring his warnings. Only when Max steps in to separate them does the chaos stop. He tells them bluntly that they're not ready. Only a master like Case can properly prepare them. They track down Case, but he greets them coldly, dismissing them as weak and warning them to leave. Mike refuses to back down, insisting he's not weak, and Zach stands by him despite their rocky relationship. Impressed by their nerve, Case agrees to train them, but only under strict conditions: payment, obedience, and completion of challenging tasks. Each student will be trained differently. To test them, Zach performs assigned moves, while Mike is tasked with punching a sheet of paper until he creates a perfect hole, a test of focus, endurance, and patience. Training begins. While others spar with partners, Mike works tirelessly on the paper, making slow progress. Even after everyone leaves, he stays behind, absorbed in the task until Case tells him to stop for the day. At home, all 4 students continue. Mike becomes obsessed, walking along the streets and practicing, drawing curious looks from passersby. Days of punishing drills push everyone to their limits. Tension rises between the older and newer students. Case deliberately provokes Justin over a personal insult, and moments later, Justin attacks Zach, retaliates, and the other students quickly intervene, restraining Justin and calming the situation. Max later shows up at Case's training space, offering contacts, opportunities, and financial support to help him return to his prime. But Case must fully commit. Soon after, Max organizes a small club tournament, offering $100 to anyone who can last a minute against Case. The first challengers fall quickly, showing the students the skill gap. Eve appears in the crowd, recognizing Zach and Mike, and makes a light comment about her parents' breakup. Fueled by determination, Mike suddenly steps into the ring to challenge Case. The crowd shouts warnings, and Case cautions him, but Mike throws the first punch. Case dodges easily and shoves him aside, a reminder that mastery is still far ahead, and the road to success will be long and demanding. The challenger refuses to give up, throwing punch after punch, but the veteran evades every move with ease, treating him like a rookie. When Case finally grips Mike's arm and mutters a warning, Mike stubbornly refuses to stop. He lands a punch squarely on Case's face, which finally sets the master off. Case locks his arm, demanding a tap, but Mike refuses until the timer runs out. The crowd cheers his determination, though Case remains unimpressed. Training continues when police arrive at the yard, calling Case an ex-convict. They demand to know where he served his sentence and order him to leave immediately. Case tries to explain that he isn't harming anyone, but the officers, set on confrontation, brandish batons and insist he evacuate at once. Two students arrive, confused, and the police extend a final warning. Nobody is to step foot in the yard again. Soon, the rest of the students show up, including Justin, now bald and ready for the beatdown, displaying a tattoo on his fingers. They discuss Case's situation, acknowledging that the officers are taking advantage of his probation status. Justin scolds Mike for his reckless actions in the ring, which broke Case's flawless record. Mike tries to downplay it, but Justin insists it was a serious matter for their teacher. When they approach Case, he reminds them of the police warning, sending them away. Seeing the urgency, Tim leads them to a safe location for training. The students take to the space immediately, organizing and setting it up. Eve joins, apologizing to Mike for her earlier comment about his family, but he wants the topic dropped. She switches to teasing him, complimenting his looks and joking about his past with women, even claiming she thinks he's still a virgin. Mike awkwardly tries to play along, but the teasing continues. Zach returns with used equipment from another gym, which Justin points out could be problematic since their boss is still on parole. Zach brushes it off, and they finish setting up the space. Case arrives, surprised by the effort and impressed with the equipment. He immediately begins training, showing them an arm lock technique. Mike returns home and continues his obsessive paper punch exercise, still unable to pierce it. Training intensifies, with Case studying their abilities closely. One day, they find him training with a former heavyweight, surprising and motivating them. Zach wonders how Case knows such big names, yet never reached the top himself. They learn that Case had the potential to be the next big thing, but disappeared for 4 years, serving a 2-year sentence during that time. Despite this, he had once defeated some of the best fighters in his prime. Later, Case thanks the students for setting up the gym, but tension flares when Justin starts picking on Mike, warning Zach that the newcomer is jealous of his bond with Eve. Justin makes a crude joke about Mike's mother, which finally pushes Mike over the edge, and he rushes toward Justin, ready to fight. The tension between Mike and Justin quickly escalates. Case steps in and orders them to settle it in the ring. The fight begins with Mike charging in, throwing punches, but Justin dodges each one with precision, taunting him after every miss. He brings up Mike's father repeatedly, trying to provoke him. When Mike is taken to the ground, Justin rains down punches, which his opponent narrowly avoids. Undeterred, Mike traps him in a necklock. Everyone urges him to tap out, but he refuses until finally passing out from exhaustion. Later, at the dorm, Eve drops by to check on Mike. He lets her in, but she stays near the door, just wanting to wish him well. Kurt arrives, assuming they're together, and offers to give them space. Eve decides to leave. Back at the gym, Case notices something off with Zach during training. The boxer tries to hide it, but the master isn't fooled. He pauses the session and demands the truth. Zach confesses he's having problems with his eye and has been warned to stop fighting. Worried it might prevent him from competing in the beatdown, he asks if Case will continue training him. Case tells him he's old enough to make his own decisions. If he's willing to risk going blind for his passion, the choice is his. Zach insists on continuing, and Case adjusts the training to account for his weakness. At the club, Tim witnesses a man causing chaos, beating people, and dragging a woman across the floor. The bouncer intervenes, knocking the man out cold. Impressed, the club owner immediately offers him a high-paying head of security position. Tim agrees, but only if the owner fires his mom, and they seal it with a handshake. Back at the gym, Case notices Mike's anger issues and explains how dangerous that mindset can be for a fighter. Mike always believed anger fueled his drive, but Case teaches him that uncontrolled rage can blind him to real threats in the ring. Meanwhile, Max, looking to save money for the tournament, is allowed free use of the gym, which excites him. He records training sessions and reviews the footage with the fighters daily to track their progress. Days later, after some fan attention, Zach texts Eve to break up with her, leaving him conflicted. At the club, He plays along with a stripper who teases him, letting his friends know he's leaving and not to wait for him. Meanwhile, Justin seeks revenge on the gang who nearly killed him. He urinates on their car, provoking a confrontation. They attack, but Justin fights back with precision and brutality, breaking a man's leg, slamming another to the ground, and neutralizing every threat. The gang leader tries to flee, but Justin catches him and stomps his wounded leg. He sarcastically thanks his teacher for pushing him into training, but later reports to Case, proud of his revenge. Case scolds him for recklessness, warning that the police could be watching, and orders him to leave immediately, leaving the students frustrated and emotional. Finally, Mike takes Eve out for dinner. They talk openly, but when his dad calls, Mike ignores it. Eve gently tells him he can't avoid his father forever, and that he needs to confront his feelings. Mike admits he's not ready, leaving the conversation unresolved, but heartfelt. Mike is struggling with more than just his dad leaving his mom. It's the sense of abandonment, of everything he worked for being left behind. Just then, Max calls. Although Mike knows it's about the beatdown tournament, he answers. Eve asks why he wants to participate, and he jokes that maybe proving himself will help him get girls. Later that night, they end up in Mike's room, sharing an intimate moment that brings a brief sense of comfort. Meanwhile, Max is finalizing the venue for the tournament. Excitedly, he receives notification that tickets have sold out. He tells Case he can't wait to see Zach fight, only to be reminded that Zach won't be participating. Max worries about the impact on the event, suggesting that Case himself could step in to draw attention and attract scouts. But Case refuses, explaining that he can't fight his own students, the very people who helped him get the gym. He reflects on his past, growing up with a father who was a boxer, and regretting that his family never saw him succeed. He recalls being in the wrong place at the wrong time, taking a harsh sentence despite his skill and reputation, and calls the justice system a failure. As Max leaves, he notices police cars entering the area. He quickly begins recording. Officers demand to search Case's residence without a warrant. When Case protests, they proceed aggressively. One officer accuses him of possessing a weapon. Case fights back with expert precision, dodging strikes, countering blows, and taking down multiple officers with tactical skill, including punches, leg sweeps, and flying kicks. Even when cornered and grabbed by the neck, he manages to fight free. Max calls him to jump into the car while uploading the fight video as evidence. At the station, Case sits cuffed in the interrogation room. Max and the students, except for Justin, scramble to find a way to get him out. Tensions flare between Zach and Max over Eve, but the promoter shuts it down. The police chief reveals that Justin's father admitted the gun belonged to him, and that Justin planted it after Case kicked him out. Despite this, Case still has to answer for other charges. Furious, the group decides to confront Justin for his betrayal. Finally, the beatdown begins. The crowd roars with anticipation. After the opening fight, Mike faces Justin in the ring. The match is intense. Mike dodges punches, takes Justin down, and delivers powerful blows. A precise kick to the chest leaves Justin staggered. Mike finishes the fight with a flawless, Bruce Lee-inspired move.
Style move.
Cementing his place as a fighter to watch Zach steps into the ring, ready to face his rival. As he walks through the crowd, the energy is palpable, fans reaching out to touch him, one even holding out her chest for an autograph. But Zach's eyes immediately lock onto Eve in the stands, the tension between them still thick. The bell rings, and the fight begins. Zach, a seasoned fighter, quickly takes control. He dominates his opponent, giving him no room to maneuver. Within moments, he locks his rival's arms and leg in a submission hold, forcing him to tap out. Next, it's Justin's turn. His opponent proves to be a worthy challenger, neither fighter gaining a clear advantage at the start. The tension builds as the challenger almost forces Justin to tap, but Justin escapes, flips the fight, and lands a series of precise punches to the face, securing a hard-fought victory. Then comes Tim. The fight barely starts before a single, perfectly timed punch knocks his opponent out cold, ending the match in seconds. Backstage, Justin tries to provoke Mike, bringing up sensitive topics, but Mike ignores him, staying focused until it's his turn in the ring. When the bell rings, Mike immediately shows his strength, delivering powerful kicks. He maneuvers behind his opponent, locks in a chokehold, and lands heavy punches. Though his rival fights back briefly, Mike counters, targeting the leg, causing visible pain. Mike then executes a quick reversal, locks his opponent's leg, and forces a tap out. Justin returns for another match, this time a battle of endurance. Both fighters relentlessly try to make the other submit, trading holds and counters with incredible stamina. Standing once more, the rival lands the first blow, but Justin seizes the moment when his opponent complains about a foul, wrapping him up from behind until he passes out. Zach re-enters the ring, showing off stunts taught by Case, landing repeated kicks until his opponent is out cold. Tim steps back up, facing a challenger his size. Early dominance is his, with solid strikes, but he's caught in an arm lock. Escaping narrowly, he regains control and finishes the fight decisively. Finally, it's Mike versus Zach. Before stepping in, they share a brief moment of understanding, agreeing to focus and avoid their weaknesses. The fight begins cautiously, each testing the other. When Mike throws the first punch, Zach counters, pinning him down. They break free, exchanging blows with intensity. Ultimately, Mike locks Zach in a submission hold, forcing him to tap out. Meanwhile, backstage, chaos unfolds. Justin attacks Tim with a stick, breaking his leg and leaving him unable to fight. With Tim out, Mike faces Justin in the final showdown. Case, recently released, returns to support Mike. The match begins ferociously, both men trading blows and ignoring pain. Justin relentlessly targets Mike's left leg, noticing every flinch. But Mike fights through, channeling the focus he developed in training. After a brutal exchange, Mike lands a powerful punch that staggers Justin. He follows with a flurry of strikes, locking Justin's arm until his shoulder cracks. The referee intervenes, but as Justin charges in anger, Mike counters with a flying punch that drops him instantly. The crowd erupts as Mike's team storms the cage in celebration. Case receives a call from McCarthy, confirming his return to fighting. The champion finally calls his father, ready to reconcile, with Eve quietly standing by his side. That was never back down. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and share your thoughts in the comments below.